Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, team? And thank you for tuning into another episode. You've seen the title, and we are diving into the minds of Coach Susie and myself in this episode. And I'm stoked for you guys to hear a little bit more about the coaching role rather than the athlete role. So we hope that you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you give us a rating and a review, and let's get to it. Boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Are you ready?
Ready, Freddie.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, team? And thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back
Yeah.
to your favorite podcast with Susie and Brandon.
You know what's really fun about this podcast is that Susie has no idea what we're going to be discussing. You guys saw the title. You guys know what it is. But Susie has no idea. So we're going to have some fun today, love.
We could.
Are you not down for fun?
I love fun.
Why don't you want to have fun?
Fun is my middle name. Everyone calls me Susie Fun Miller.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. Banter topic first. You, continuing from where we left, testing my voice while Thomas goes crazy. Okay. Banter topic. Susie and I have done everything together for the last 6-7 years.
How long have we been together, babe?
6-7 years. 6-ish and 7-ish years.
7 years, yeah.
Exactly what I said. 7-ish years. We've done everything together. And
We hold hands all day from morning till night.
Yes. And at night we still hold hands while we sleep.
Of course.
And you have decided, sorry, and
That I'm leaving you.
that you're leaving me.
Not
It's over.
true.
No.
Never.
We're coming on the podcast to say
Just to
okay.
announce. Just kidding, guys. I would
And we're
never
going to
leave
share
my
the
eggplant.
podcast. We're going to share the podcast 1 week at a time.
Yeah, partager.
All kidding aside, Susie has now started
A new job.
a new career path for you,
Career.
which I am excited for.
I'm excited too.
I feel like we're kind of announcing it on the podcast because we're going to have many conversations with people. So we're just telling you guys all at one time now. But tell them, what are you doing? Are you still going to be coaching? Are you leaving? Is it over? Are you done CrossFit now that you have a job?
That's it. Game over. Yes, I'm still going to be coaching. Not a whole lot about that is going to change. I'm just going to also be working for right now 2 days a week, but in the summer, like around July, I'll probably start doing 3 days a week.
What are you doing? What are you doing during those days?
I'm going to be a dental receptionist.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm working at a dental clinic under Dr. Pellerin.
Shout out Malice.
I was going to say, as the podcast would know, Dr. Malice. So yeah, I'm going to be working in a dental office wearing like adult clothes. And
You did have to buy some clothes, huh?
yeah, I really need to shop. Like I have 2 outfits.
I mean, I can't wear Gymshark to work.
I was like, so how do you guys feel about me coming in sweatpants? No, so I have to wear like business casual attire, and I'm just going to be kind of like the front person, secretary, receptionist, charge of billing, managing the schedule, things like that. So I'm really excited. I did a course because in order to work as a dental receptionist, you need to have like at least a basic understanding of
Mouth, teeth.
and like what types of procedures and what they mean and when people call and ask and stuff like that. Also, I had to like in my course, they talked about, you know, how to do billing and send to insurance and lots of just fun little details. So yeah, I'm really excited. I just started last week. I've done 2 days so far. So far, so good. Mm-hmm. The team seems really nice, and added bonus, my best friend works there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, super fun.
It's going to be good for you.
Really good.
I think it's also interesting. Like I said earlier, we've done everything together, and I feel like this is also a good step for us as well, because it's just...
Yeah, I think one of the things that, I mean, having a child adds a layer of responsibility to our lives that we didn't have prior. So it was easier before to sort of get by on, you know, going all in and doing our thing at CrossFit Max. But Of course, now it would be nice to have just like an extra revenue stream from somewhere else. So that was part of our decision-making process. But a huge part of the decision-making process for me to do this is because we want to have a little bit more family time. So once Tommy starts daycare, which will be in about a month from now, if Brandon is coaching, let's say in the mornings, and then I'm coaching in the evenings, we never get to be together as a family. We're just ships passing in the night.
Yep.
But if I'm working at the dental office at the same time that Brandon is coaching, at the same time that Thomas is at daycare, then at the end of the day,
That's a pretty productive family right there.
At the end of the day, we can all be together as a family and just have a little bit more time, like all three of us together. Because right now, the way our current schedule is, since Thomas is not yet in daycare and we are both currently working, we are either on Thomas duty or at work. There's not really, or sleeping. There's not really a whole lot of family time. We're just sort of passing from either being in charge of Thomas or working.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's not long-term sustainable.
Yeah. I think it's also good for us because it's going to be something different. Like I said, we've done everything together from work, relationship, we're coming home, we're always discussing these things, and just good to have like just something
separation.
Different. Yeah, exactly.
Not separation from each other, but just.
Well, actually, it was like separation from the business together. So it's like we're always together and we're always doing the same things together. So it's actually nice to have like a separation for you to go do the dental stuff, and then for me to do the CrossFit stuff, and then be a little bit more like I don't want to say normal, I guess maybe normal couple.
Yeah, like normal people. They go off to their jobs and then they come home to each other. We just don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So you'll see Susie still coaching on the floor.
I'm still going to be coaching
less, though.
I will be coaching a little bit less, but also because we've hired a new coach. So there is going to be a lot of good things happening at the gym. But I'm still going to be coaching. I'm still going to be onboarding clients. I'm just going to also be working.
Yeah. All right. Banter topic complete.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into the fun stuff for the day.
Yes, right.
And it's going to be diving into your mental and my mental.
Oh, no.
And this is what we're going to be discussing. Are you ready?
We're talking about me?
We're talking...
It's my favorite topic. I'm just kidding.
We are going to be discussing inside the mind of a coach.
Oh.
So I want to hear from your perspective, what it's like, and we'll dive into my perspective, and we're just going to break down kind of behind the scenes stuff, what we're looking for in a class, how we're setting things up, all that from start to finish.
Okay, I like it. So it's not really about me. Boo.
Not necessarily just about you, but it is for sure about you in a way. Yeah. For sure. I want to hear how your psyche is. I want to discuss my psyche.
Oh, I love talking about my psyche.
Yeah. And I want the listeners to hear what it's like from an outside, or not from an outside, from the inside perspective of a coach and how we run things.
Yeah, because there's a lot more that goes into having a class than the 60 minutes of having the class.
Yeah. So let's start there.
Okay, cool.
It's Tuesday morning. You're on at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
I freaking love my 6 a.m. classes.
You know you got to work out at 6 a.m. tomorrow?
Yeah.
So what is the start of the coaching process like for Coach Suzanne?
Coach Suzanne. So I guess the first thing that I would do, since I'm not on the programming side of things, is I go check out what the workout is for tomorrow. Definitely the day before. If not before that, but usually just the day before. So I'll go check, okay, what is the workout for tomorrow? And then my goal will be to then create a class plan for how I'm going to run the session. So making sure that I allot enough time for each element of the class and that I write an appropriate warm-up that will be fun and effective.
What does that plan entail? What is in it? Okay,
so in my class plan, first I want to make sure that, especially because I have a 6 a.m. crew, that we start at 6 a.m. and we're finished by 6:59. So I usually work backwards. So I look, let's say the workout for tomorrow, maybe let's just do it.
Sure. Yeah, you want to do the whole class plan for tomorrow? Might as well do your work while we're here.
It's like 2 for 1.
2 for 1.
Baby's napping, I'm planning my class, and I'm podcasting all in one.
This is called being
That's
extra
called,
productive.
I won't we won't write the warm up together, I guess, but we can come up with like a class.
Yeah, so at the
plan.
beginning, there's push jerks, which is 5 sets of 2 repetitions.
Amazing. And then there's a Metcon.
Then there's a Metcon where we have 4 sets, an AMRAP of 1 minute and 15 seconds of max cals on the bike erg/echo bike, rest 45 seconds.
Good.
And then the second AMRAP of 1:15 is 4 hang power cleans at 135 for the boys, 95 for the ladies, and 6 bar facing burpees. Another rest of 45 seconds, and we're repeating that for a total of 4 sets.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is I'm checking like how long does this Metcon take. So
if you guys
minute
remember,
15.
Susie said that she wants to finish the class by 6:59 a.m. So it's going into like figuring out how much time that is. Now what she's going to do is she's going to figure out what time, she knows what time she needs to finish. So what time does she need to start the Metcon?
Yeah. So if the Metcon takes, it's 4 rounds and each round takes 4 minutes, right?
Yep. 4 sets.
So 4 times 4, I need to allow myself 16 minutes from when I hit go to get the Metcon done. So then I would just work backwards. So 59 minus 16.
43.
I need to add, in this case, I'll tell myself 6:42 need to be clicking 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
So then the next thing I need to think about is I need time to explain the Metcon and for people to get set up and make sure they're starting at their appropriate wave or whatever. So I'm going to allow myself 5 minutes for that. Okay. It's not a super complicated Metcon and everybody is, it's just not complicated. We're going to have barbells out already, like whatever. So 5 minutes in order to explain the Metcon and get set for the workout. So that means at about 6:38, in this case, I always give myself like a 2-minute sort of buffer here. So I would say at 6:36, I need to make sure that everybody's coming into the whiteboard to get the Metcon
So the
going.
strength needs to be done by 36.
Exactly. So that means the strength part of the workout for tomorrow, which is push jerks, we need to be finished by 36.
Yeah.
Now we have 5 sets of 2 push jerks, okay, with a nice 2 minutes rest in between. So I usually, when I have like a strength piece, I'm ranging it from 15 to 20 minutes. Now in this case, there's not a lot of reps and it's not the kind of movement where you need a long time to ramp up. So I know that I can probably give my class like...
Hold on. That's incorrect. You definitely want to get people time to ramp up. 2 reps is heavy weight. So you want to give time for people to ramp up. Putting Susie on the spot here. You want to give a lot of time for people to ramp up because it's a heavy 2 reps.
I just mean that it physically won't take a lot of time to do 2 reps per round.
Per set. Yeah.
Yes,
gotcha.
you're going to need time to... I really hope I did not say that people don't need time to ramp up. Of course, they're going to need time to ramp up. But what I'm trying to say is the physical amount of time to do 2 repetitions
do the 2 reps, yeah, it's quick,
doesn't take a lot of time. So you can do like 1 or 2 reps, add a little bit of weight.
Yep.
Your partner is going to go and then you're going to go again. Like that physical amount of time is not a lot compared to, let's say, when we're doing back rack lunges and one set is like 15 to 20 repetitions. It takes long to do a set.
Yeah.
That's what I meant here. Yes, you're going to need time to ramp up, but you don't need like 20 minutes. In my head, I don't think you need 20 minutes for this. You do. Tell me.
I think you need at least 18 to 20 minutes to get through this. You want to give people a decent amount of time to ramp up because the reps are so low that the weight has to be really high. So you really want to get people to take 8-ish minutes to build up to their first set, and it's 5 sets. So it's going to need and you have 2 minutes of rest in between as well.
Okay, so I would be vastly wrong on this. I would not
Well,
expect people to take
wrong.
8 to 10 minutes to ramp up.
This is just your approach to...
My approach, I would have given people
This
16.
this is the beauty of coaching right here. Is that
I would have given people 16 to 18 minutes to get this strength piece done in my head. So in my head, when I'm planning my class, I would allow for 18. But in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to probably let people get their bar set and then turn on the timer and say, you have 16 minutes on the clock.
Gotcha. So that means 36 minus 16 minutes is you got to get them ready by... No, they have to start the strength by 20.
They have to start the strength by
6:20 a.m.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which means that they're going to have time to get out their bars and start ramping up before I turn on that 16-minute timer.
Amazing.
Right? Because when you get people going on the strength, you don't immediately turn the timer on.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it means I have 15 minutes to warm them up, maybe run a drill if I feel like it, and... yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so 20 minutes to get them to the point where you're starting the first timer for the strength component. Yeah, that's awesome. And that gives you time to warm them up, to do some drills, to talk about how to approach the session.
Yeah, and all of this, I've allowed myself a 2-minute buffer at each station compared to what I want, right? Because sometimes people have questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to herd cats in the morning is difficult.
So now you guys know that there's not just a random, all right, well, I'm just going to go at it, right? It's there's actually a process of figuring out each time slot for each thing.
Yeah, and it has to be fairly
with a little bit
precise.
of buffer, and then, someone asks a question, and then that goes into a deep dive, or maybe you have a big class at 6 a.m. You have 12 people signed up.
Yeah.
Maybe someone misses a set and they say, oh, can I just get my last set in because it took them longer to warm up. So maybe there's an extra minute there, right? So there is an actual science behind the class plan. That's the most important thing, is that we also value people's time. So, this is such an old school CrossFit thing where you turn on the time, you pull everyone in a few minutes after the class starts, you're chill, you're relaxed, and then you're trying to get in the strength piece and then the conditioning piece, and it's 10, 15 minutes go over the 60-minute cap, and it's
that would give me so much anxiety.
That was very old school CrossFit. It's oh, whatever, we're focusing on our health. It's whoa, hold on a second.
People have places to go.
Yeah, people have jobs, kids to get ready for in the morning. Some people are coming on their lunch break and they have a meeting back at 1:15, 1:30, and they got to go. So we value people's time a lot, and from start to finish, we're a 60-minute class, and occasionally it goes over by a minute, max 2 minutes, but yeah. So in order for us to make sure that it's regimented in time for people to finish, Susie said, her goal is to finish people by 59. This way they can all, when the timer finishes, they're
put their bars away,
high fives, put the bars away, and then they're out of there by, they get their gym bags, they put their shoes on. For people who are in a faster rush, they get out of there quicker. But at 7:05, 7:10, if people want to stretch a little bit after class, then they can, and then they're out.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that?
No.
The psyche.
The psyche.
Yeah, the psyche. What's inside Susie's brain? What about the night before?
Well, I probably won't sleep a wink because every hour I'm going to be waking up anxious that I'm going to not hear my alarm.
But what's something you didn't discuss in that 20-minute block from 6 to 6:20?
Oh, well, I said it. I said that there's going to be a warm up and drills. I need to plan them.
Yeah, exactly. So you have
but
to
I'm just saying, I'm not going to make everybody
here
listen to me planning a warm up.
Let's go into how
I do that.
Yeah, how would you do that?
Yeah. I guess I would just look at okay, what movements are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in order to do those movements, what muscles are we hoping to wake up and get ready? And then what warm-up movements can I get people to do that will be efficient in getting their body ready for that, especially 6 a.m. These people are probably just rolled out of bed. They're not coming with any day of standing or walking or anything. So it's really important that you get their body awake.
Yeah, for sure. So we were looking at the movement. Okay, the main component of the day is push jerks. So you got to make sure that their shoulders are definitely ready, and they're doing heavy push jerks. So you got to make sure their shoulders are ready to support something heavy overhead. You got to make sure that they're jumping properly, right? Because the push jerk is more of a jump than it is a press. There's not much pressing involved in the push jerk. If any, you're just meant to catch the bar overhead. So you're making sure that the athletes are doing some sort of like plyometric jumping to get their legs involved and their hips involved.
Absolutely.
To get their hips into full extension at a very rapid rate. So you're looking for, okay, like what muscles need to be worked? Am I doing pushing? Am I doing pulling? Do I need my legs? Do I need my upper bodies? Should my core be engaged? Do I want to do any drills with these people, right? What's the time that I have? Okay, well, maybe I have 20 minutes to spare, so maybe we'll do like a 6 to 8 minute warm up, and then we'll do some like really, really quick drills as a team so I can then go and correct people. Or do I just want to do just a general warm up, and then as they're practicing and building up to the heavy barbell, then I could go do my magic and go coach people one-on-one as we're going. And all that changes from class to class, day to day, right? Your 6 a.m. might be more beginner, and then your 9 a.m. you might have 5 or 6 athletes in the class who are super advanced. So maybe you don't have to do the same style of drills or the same type of coaching.
Exactly.
So all those things are really fun. And yeah, so I don't know if I really have much to add to that from my side of things. I guess I'll take it one step further because I do the programming side of things.
Yeah.
And when I program a strength and a conditioning piece, I usually keep it close to a 30-minute time frame. So meaning if I want I don't want to program a strength component where I say, okay, athletes have 20 minutes to do this, the strength component, and then they have an AMRAP of 20 minutes after that, because that's a 40-minute piece. So when Susie's creating the class plan, she's thinking,
how am I going to
40
fit it
minutes?
all in?
I have to pull people into the whiteboard. I have to discuss the strength. I got to discuss the Metcon. I got to demo movements as well. I got to talk about stimulus. I got to talk about scaling options. So there's a lot of like actual words and time of pulling people in and then bringing them back to their barbells and then getting them actually set up. So Susie said the Metcon of biking is one of the AMRAPs, and then hang cleans and bar facing burpees, relatively simple movements. Maybe the clean is a little bit more of a higher skill movement.
You don't need a ton of equipment.
You don't need a lot of equipment, and you're taking the barbell from the push jerk to the clean. But that being said, you want people they haven't done a single clean. You want them to be able to do a few cleans, practice the clean before. You don't want to just go from push jerk, okay, barbell on the ground, put your weight on the bar, 3, 2, 1, go. You want people to practice a couple cleans. And so from the programming things, I'm thinking about that stuff. Okay, there's going to be time that needs to be transitioned from the rack where they're in groups to now the floor where they're going to practice a couple cleans before going here, right? So from a programming side of things, I like to keep it around 30-ish minutes. If it's under 30 minutes, then typically the coach has a lot of time to do drills. Whether you're more advanced or you're a beginner, those drills are really awesome to just like zone in on the finer details of the lifts. And that's what we've been doing for the push jerks. We've been going down. We just started week 8 of 12. Mm-hmm. So now the push jerks are getting really heavy. And that's why I said I would give athletes 18 to 20 minutes because they're going to build up to something that's heavy. And the first set, it doesn't necessarily need to be the heaviest set. The last set should always be that. But the first set is still going to be quite challenging. And they've done sets of 5, they've done sets of 4s, and they've also done sets of 3s. Yeah. So yeah, even the set of 2, it's not going to necessarily take so long for each set in terms of time. But the athletes
in between,
the build up, the ramp up to get to your first working set is still
like taking that into
challenging.
Consideration. I most likely won't run drills tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's just not going to be enough time.
Exactly,
and we're also week 8. We've done a ton of drills up until now.
Exactly.
So I'm going to spend more time getting them a good warm up and then right into it.
And from the programming side of things, I'm thinking about these things. I'm like, you know what, like we've done 8 weeks, and the first 7 weeks of this, we've practiced a lot of drills on the push jerks. Mm-hmm. So we don't necessarily need our athletes to be practicing that many drills now. Now it's the last 4 to 5 weeks of
add
our
in
training
some
block.
load.
So, and we're going heavy. So I want our athletes to, now put all their work together
their
here.
technique into intensity.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thinking of like the programming side of things, it's all those things. And then I'm thinking, okay, there's not really going to be drills, so I'm going to give athletes about 18 to 20 minutes. And then, okay, so the Metcon can be a little bit on the longer side, 16 minutes. And you take that total time, you take let's say 20-minute strength piece at the max and a 16 minutes, that's 36 minutes, right? So it's on the more than 30-minute side. So no time for drills, general warm-up, get them ready for their barbell stuff, make sure their shoulders are activated, make sure they're jumping, make sure that their joints are lubricated by doing some sort of cardio machine or some sort of cardio movement.
Yeah. I feel like me doing the class plan on the podcast live without having once looked at the workout made me look really dumb. So I just feel like an idiot. But yes.
I don't think so at all.
This all makes perfect sense.
No, but I'm just repeating everything you said. Yeah. I don't think that at all. I think you did great. The only thing I would just say is just
like I hadn't looked at the workout once and I just did it on the fly.
That's part of the fun of like, putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
And then also to add on to that is what I've been trying to do after class. It doesn't really happen too much for the 6 a.m. because the 6 a.m. wants to bounce out of there because they have kids to get ready for. They got to
start their day.
But for the 9 and the 12 and even the evening classes, they typically have a little bit more time, a little bit more wiggle room. So after class, I'll think about, okay, what 1 or 2 stretches do I want to give the athletes? I'll probably give them some sort of like upper back, thoracic spine extension mobility drill just to get them to open up a little bit more because that's really important for the push jerk
position.
And then I'll probably give them some sort of like banded lat and tricep stretch to help improve their front rack position because they have hang cleans and they also have push jerks and their triceps are probably going to feel a little bit after the push jerks. So yeah, that's
nice.
kind of my psyche going on.
Love it.
Into the class. So now that you have a plan, it's 6 a.m. in the morning. What's the mental state of Coach Suzanne at this point? So you bring them in, you talk to them about the board. What's next? Do you want me to do the next part?
Yeah. I feel like I feel like you're leading me to more embarrassment. So I would like you to take over.
Why are you saying embarrassment? Why are you embarrassed from your first part?
Yeah, I feel like I just sounded like I didn't know what I was talking about.
I felt like you did really great on the first part. I didn't really have much to add to that. I think I just repeated what you said. So now when I'll pull them in, I'll either discuss, for tomorrow specifically, it's push jerks 5x2 and we're going heavy. There's not much discussion besides trying to hype up our athletes to get something heavy on the bar for today, especially because a lot of them have trained. And the 6 a.m. is quite consistent with their training as well. So I'm sure that they've had a decent exposure on the push jerk. So just getting them hyped up to make sure they either look at Wattify to see their past results or just maybe they might even know what they're aiming for and just try to make them go heavier than what they did for their sets of 3s. Or if they didn't do the 3s, then the sets of 4s. But beyond that, when I start getting them to come to the board, I'll talk to them about that real quick. And then I'll probably get them to start the warm-up and I'll demo the movements. So we want to make sure we demo those movements. And probably for you at 6 a.m., you'll probably have to repeat the warm-up about 3 to 4 times. Shout out to 6 a.m.ers. And yeah, while they're warming up, I'll look for things to make sure their movement pattern is on point. So if I'm making them do some sort of plyometric because I want them to be jumping really, really hard here because they're going to need that transfer over into the push jerk, I'll make sure to see if the athletes are actually extending their hips hard on the jumps. Or if I say like, hey, we're going to do this 10-meter vertical jump drill on the turf and I see them like half-assing it, I'll go over and I'll try to correct them, right? Or sometimes if we're doing more complex plyometric drill, I'll just be over there looking for little things and how we can improve their movements. And then depending on what other warm-up drills we have or warm-up exercises we have, I'll just make sure real quick that athletes are doing this properly. I'll throw a random example in there, like a common exercise we'll throw in there is like a dead bug. Right. So if we throw a dead bug in there and we see people like, you know, on the ground, on their back, doing a dead bug, and
Going
they're like,
through the
la, la,
motions.
la, la, la,
Yeah.
talking to the person next to them, like kind of just putting their hand overhead and then extending their leg over here. It's like trying to get them to zone in and be like, hey, like this should be really hard. If you do the dead bug properly, you shouldn't be able to have a easy conversation with the person next to you.
Right.
You know? Let's hold the conversation for when we get onto the machine and we're doing our cardio piece after.
Yep.
Right. So just making sure our athletes are engaging the proper muscles, moving the right way, and just making sure we're getting them as prepared as possible. Because a lot of times people just think, oh, the coach is just making me warm up. Because, you know,
Well, yeah, like it's not just like to go through the motions. There's purpose.
Yeah. And to give an actual example of what I did last week, when we had push jerks in my class, I made them do that vertical jump on the turf. And
I did too, which is funny because we didn't discuss that, but I did the same.
So it was a hop twice. So you, on your 2 feet, you do 2 little horizontal hops, and then on the third one you do a massive vertical drive high in the air and then land in a quarter squat position, and then 2 hops, and on the third one huge vertical, and you just go across the turf. And I was just noticing, like I kept correcting people, like trying to get them to jump higher, because they were really, the 9 a.m. class was really slacking through it. They were not pushing as hard as they should have. It was a big class. I can't remember which class it was. I think it was the 9 a.m. last week. Anyways, after the warm up, I pulled them all over after they finished the 2 or 3 rounds I had them do, and I had them line up in line. And then I was like, guys, like, why are we making you guys warm up? And there was like a legitimate
Crickets
from the crowd here, you know. And then someone was like, and I looked at them, I was like, can someone give me like one reason, just one? There's many reasons why we warm up, but just give me one reason. And someone was like,
you put them in
for like
timeout, man,
for like safety. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, for sure. When we're warming up, we want to reduce the risk of injury, and that's probably the main reason why we warm up. But the second big one is to make sure we're primed and ready for what we're about to do, right? Yeah. And it's a huge difference doing like a little bunny hop, right? And jumping as hard as you can vertically, right? And when you're about to jump as hard as you can with a barbell, if you're not warming up with the right approach and you're just kind of like
it's not going to translate over.
You're just kind of going through it here. It's not going to translate really well. What happens when you go to the heavy barbell? You're like, oh man, it's so heavy. It's like, well, actually, right now it's not as heavy as it could be, but it feels really heavy because we're not extending our hips as much as we should or as fast as we should.
Right.
So I made him do it there and back one more time after having that discussion with them, and all of them were jumping, let's say 30 to 40% higher than they were. And I'm not looking like for someone to jump as high as I can jump. I know that have many years of basketball and volleyball training, but I'm looking at everyone's hips and looking to see how fast they're extending and how much effort that they're putting into the actual jump. And that's quite easy for a coach to see. You can see, not based on the performance, because that's something that I look a lot from a coach, is not necessarily the performance, but I'm looking at the effort that the athlete is bringing.
100%.
So all that to be said, that's what I'm looking for in the warm-up, is making sure that the athletes, you know, typically the intensity is lower in a warm-up, but I still want to see intent in the proper movement mechanics of the warm-up.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's the strength component.
Yeah.
Typically.
Or skill, whatever.
Right. What are you looking for in the strength component? This is usually where the beauty of coaching comes in, I would say, because that's where we get like more hands-on.
Yeah, I mean, making sure that people are moving appropriately so they have the correct movement pattern, fine-tuning small details. So making sure you're observing athletes doing their movement and making sure that they're doing it properly and giving them tips on how they can improve it.
Yeah.
And then making sure that people are also doing it the way you explained it. So for tomorrow, since we're just like on the same example, it's about lifting heavy, which means that our athletes should and will need a 2-minute rest at least in between each set. What I've noticed recently in the past few weeks, and I had to have a combo with my 6 a.m. group last week, is that sometimes people kind of go rapidly into their next sets at the beginning because the weights are kind of light, and then they're like, oh, I'm done. And you're like 6 minutes in and you're like, I gave you guys 20 minutes to do this. Like, you can't be done at 6 minutes. If we're done at 6 minutes, it's because we were not reaching the right stimulus. Or they take no rest at the beginning and then they take a really long rest and then they run out of time, and then you try and squeeze in a last set and they can't because they're fatigued because they didn't rest appropriately. So just making sure people are staying on track.
Making sure people's time management is there.
Exactly. Time management is on track. And then also making sure that the movements are good, and that some people either need a little bit of a push sometimes. So maybe encouraging someone to try adding a little bit of weight to their bar if they're moving really well. And I feel like maybe they have more in the tank than what they're doing, or potentially
there's so many times that someone's like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
well,
more common.
How hard was that last set? You're like, oh, it was hardish. And you're like, I just saw that and that looked like a 70%
Sometimes
effort.
people just like need your vote of confidence to add a little bit of weight, especially if we're newer to CrossFit. So I feel like mostly it's that, but I mean, it does also happen sometimes where I feel like we've lost the integrity of the movement, and sometimes it's about telling people to peel off a little bit of weight.
Absolutely.
And always quality over weight here. You want the movement should look the same whether it's an empty bar or it's 200 pounds.
And then there's the Metcon, and that's just from a coaching perspective, just making sure.
I was going to say there's a big variety on what the goal of a Metcon could be.
But just making sure that they're getting the right dosage of stimulus or intensity, making sure that they're moving really well. This is typically where people tend to lose out on their technique a little bit more because it's 3, 2, 1, go, and people just want to go fast and fast. It's like, okay, we want to be moving not just safely but efficiently as well. So where it's a little bit more high pace, but usually the athletes are dialed in at that point. They're quite warm, they're quite ready for the intensity, and also just making sure we have a good floor plan. So really mapping out the floor.
So important.
This way there's no, people potentially dropping barbells or things lying around that could potentially injure them, like plates on the ground when we're dropping barbells or boxes or anything like that, right? Just making sure that the floor plan is like
very organized.
Giving the athletes the floor plan so that they know where to set up, and then making sure that it's safe for everyone, and then making sure they're getting the right dosage of intensity.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about making sure you're getting like up close and personal with athletes who need to work on a movement or skill, and giving them some quick tips and feedback. But then there's also the element of sometimes, even if it's not perfect, allowing the athlete, as long as they're moving safely, to just like push a little bit and let them move. There's a time and place to correct, and you can give a cue here and there for something. But if you've cued that person a few times already and they're moving well and they're hungry in their workout, sometimes it's also about like reading the room and as a coach being like, you know what, like I'm not going to die on this hill right now. They're moving well. They're attacking their workout. Like I'm just going to let them go. And then maybe if I have 1 minute at the end, we can talk about it one more time or something like that.
Yeah. It's like a minute 15 AMRAP. It's really, really quick. You don't want to start taking a minute 15 to teach someone how to, or not to teach, but how to correct someone on their clean because their elbows are not going as high as you would like them, or they're not jumping as hard as you would like them to jump,
like in tomorrow's example, they're working for a minute 15. Sometimes in that 45 seconds, I might run over it and then use that as a chance to be like, hey, on the next round, let's try this. But you don't want to always be interrupting someone when they're in their go mode if it's not essential.
And then just collecting people's scores at the end, making sure that they log their results, because that's really important. Because if you don't log it, it's going to be really hard to
keep track of your progress
and to potentially
watch your progress
look back and redo it. We just did our final Murph preparation as a partner format.
My arms are still shaking.
And we did this workout last year as well. So, you never know when you're going to redo a workout. And
so fun
cool
to
see the progress and everything.
Yeah, it's so fun to have scores to look back on. I think one element of coaching that we didn't really like touch on here, and something that I try really hard to do in my class, is also just have like a social touch point with everybody in the class. Hey, so-and-so, how was your weekend?
Yeah.
How was your daughter's volleyball game? Making sure you're kind of checking in with people and, becoming like asking questions about their life and getting to know them on a deeper level, because that's the difference between like a community-centered and client-centered business than, not that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm glad you added that in.
Because I feel like, all too many times I've participated in classes where someone hasn't even asked me my name or asked me anything about myself. Maybe they've overshared about their life and I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
So as a coach, I feel like I really try and prioritize getting to know the people in my class and asking questions about them and what's going on in their world.
Yeah, for sure. And usually the strength component is the time to do that.
Yeah,
that's
in between the rests of the strength component, or while people are warming up, say a quick hello while they're on their bike. And I feel like for me, even though that's not what it's all about, it's quite important.
Super important, yeah.
And that's something that Brandon and I look for when we're hiring our staff as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps it up. That was awesome. So, as you can see, it's not just a 60 minutes show up and just do your best. There's like a full class plan. There's like touch points in between. There's figuring out whether we want to do drills or just a general warm up, how we're going to correct athletes. There's actually looking at who's in the actual class to 100%. See what type of drills maybe I should do. Do I have a more advanced class? Do I have a more intermediate? Do I have a more beginner class?
Do I have a pregnant woman in my class? Do I need to give her options that are different than what we're doing today?
What are the type of scaling options I want to present to the members? How is the stimulus of this workout supposed to be? And so there's so much that goes on than just showing up to the class.
Did I have a touch point with every person? Did I make everyone feel like they are super important and special? Because that's so, like, that's what keeps you guys coming back, you know?
So hopefully you guys dig that. That was fun.
That was fun.
We're going to end the podcast the way we do every week with client of the week.
Pew, 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 pew.
This client has been on a mission the last few months. I actually don't know how long she's been at our gym for. It's got to be within 6 months now.
I don't know.
Around 6 months?
Could be.
I think it was just before the New Year's.
Okay.
I believe. I think I'm close to that. Anyways,
I don't know.
Came in as a couple. We're shouting one of them out, and she has been very coachable. She has been on a mission to improve her movement, to lift heavier weights. She's always pushing really, really hard in Metcons. She's always giving high fives to everyone after the class. She always has an awesome smile on as well, and is enjoying her time and looks forward to the challenge, which I think is really cool. And that client is Rand.
Yay, go Rand. You're killing it, honey.
So Rand, keep up the hard work. We really appreciate you as a client. You and Abraham have been great additions to our community.
Beautiful additions.
You're also killing it in soccer as well, playing multiple soccer games
Super mama
a week
over here.
while having 2 beautiful daughters.
Yes.
And also has a job too.
Yo, these CrossFit Max clients are out here working.
Yeah. But keep up the good work. We're proud of you. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys want to support us, down below there's a buy me a protein shake.
Yes.
Helps support the
We're
channel.
very thirsty, guys.
Very thirsty.
Thirsty.
And make sure, if you haven't yet, to give us a rating and a review. And we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.